If someone had told me that Earth's most dangerous weapon wasn't a nuclear device, but a deceptively innocent dessert called a cookie, I would have questioned the logic circuits of our High Council. And yet, here I am, an elite reconnaissance agent of the Nexaran Empire, completely undone by chocolate chips and human kindness. Operation Earth, a spy's nightmare. Agent Nexo, your mission is of utmost importance to the survival of our civilization, Grand Supreme Overseer Tharn announced, his 3 eyes fixed intensely on me. The briefing chamber hummed with the soft purple glow of our quantum displays, casting elegant shadows across the polished surfaces of our central command center. I stood at attention, my ceremonial marks glowing with pride beneath my uniform. I understand the gravity of this assignment, Commander. Earth will not suspect a thing. When the commander's face tentacles twitched with concern. Do not underestimate these humans. Agent Nexo, our preliminary observations have been disturbing. I couldn't help but let out a small laugh, quickly stifling it when I saw the commander's stern expression. Disturbing. Commander, with all due respect, we are talking about beings who still think digital watches are pretty neat. They haven't even colonized their own moon yet. That's precisely what concerns us, Dr. Zyra interjected, stepping forward with a holographic display. Her sleek uniform sparkled with the ranks of our highest xenobiological research division. Look at these readings. Their civilization demonstrates patterns we have never encountered before. They are completely unpredictable. The hologram showed various human activities, primitive vehicles moving in chaotic patterns, structures built without any apparent logical symmetry, and social gatherings that seem to serve no practical purpose. Your mission is simple, yet crucial. Supreme Overseer Tharn continued, bringing up my assignment details. You will be inserted into a typical human settlement in what they call Minnesota. Your cover identity has been crafted based on their social media algorithms. You will pose as a foreign exchange student named Liam Sanderson. Liam Sanderson, I practiced my vocal modulators, adjusting to the clumsy human phonetics. What an absurd combination of sounds. Dr. Zyra pulled up another display. We have modified your appearance to match human biological standards. The transformation will last approximately 6 Earth months. That should give you enough time to gather the intelligence we need. I examined my new form in the reflection panel. The genetic engineers had outdone themselves. Gone were my beautiful iridescent scales, replaced with this pink-beige flesh covering they called skin. My elegant neck frills had been reduced to these strange flaps they called ears. At least they'd given me what humans considered an attractive face, according to their bizarre beauty standards. Remember, Supreme Overseer Tharn warned, this is strictly reconnaissance. Under no circumstances are you to reveal your true identity. The humans must believe you are one of them. Please, Commander, I said, straightening my new Earth clothing, a combination they called jeans and a hoodie. I have studied their culture extensively. I have watched their entire Netflix documentary collection. I have even mastered their social ritual called small talk. What could possibly go wrong? The commander's face tentacles drooped with worry. That's exactly the kind of overconfidence that concerns me, Agent Nexo. These humans, they are different. They do things that defy all logical analysis. Like what? I asked, genuinely curious now. Dr. Zyra pulled up another hologram. They willingly consume substances that temporarily poison their cognitive functions for fun. They keep smaller animals in their dwellings for no practical purpose. And perhaps most baffling, they regularly expose themselves to dangerous climate conditions for something they call beach vacation. I waved my new human hand dismissively. Simple, primitive behaviors. Nothing our advanced training can't handle. I assure you, Commander, in 6 months, you will have a complete analysis of human weaknesses ready for our eventual conquest." Supreme Overseer Tharn sighed, a sound I'd never heard him make before. "Very well, Agent Nexo. Your transport is ready. Remember your emergency protocols, and for the love of the 3 moons, try not to draw attention to yourself, buddy boy." As I walked toward the teleportation chamber, I couldn't help feeling sorry for these humans. How simple their lives must be. How predictable their behavior patterns. This mission would be the easiest assignment of my career. Oh, how wrong I was. The quantum transport beam deposited me in what my intelligence briefing identified as a garage. I immediately regretted not paying more attention during the Earth weather patterns lecture. Minnesota in September, as it turns out, was not the tropical paradise I had assumed all Earth environments to be. A strange white powder called frost covered the ground, and my new human body started doing this awful involuntary spasm called shivering. "Hey, are you okay over there?" a voice called out. My heart, now frustratingly singular instead of my usual 3, nearly stopped. I turned to see a human female approaching, wrapped in layers of synthetic fiber protection they called a winter coat. "Yes, totally fine. Just enjoying this wonderful cold," I responded, trying to mimic the casual tone I'd studied in human entertainment programs. "I am Liam Sanderson, normal human exchange student who definitely arrived by normal human transportation methods, and not by quantum beam." The human female raised one of her facial hair strips, what my briefing called eyebrows. "Did you walk here in shorts in 40-degree weather?" I looked down at my chosen attire, suddenly realizing why the mission protocols had included several pages about appropriate seasonal clothing that I had skimmed past. "Yes, because I am from Florida, where this temperature is completely normal." The human's face contorted into what I recognized as their expression of concern. "I'm Sophie Torres, your host family's neighbor. They are out of town until tomorrow, but they asked me to check on you. Come on, let's get you inside before you freeze to death." As Sophie led me toward her dwelling, I mentally congratulated myself. First contact achieved, and my cover story was working perfectly. I followed her into her home, immediately assaulted by a barrage of unfamiliar sensations. "What is that fascinating aroma?" I asked, my new nose overwhelmed by an unknown chemical reaction. "Oh, I'm just baking cookies. Would you like some? They are fresh out of the oven." Cookies. My briefing had mentioned these as a common Earth sustenance. Yes, I would love to consume these cookies in a normal human fashion. Sophie laughed, a sound that my training had not adequately prepared me for. Human laughter, I was discovering, had an infectious quality that made my face muscles want to mirror the expression. How terribly inconvenient. "You are funny, Liam. Your English is pretty good, but you might want to relax a bit with the formal speech. Here, try one while they are warm." She handed me a circular disc of baked nutrients. I observed her carefully to mimic the proper consumption technique. The moment the cookie touched my tongue, my entire mission protocol fell apart. "By the 3 moons," I exclaimed, immediately realizing my error. "I mean, oh my God, this is... what is happening in my mouth?" Sophie grinned. "Right. Nothing better than warm chocolate chip cookies. Though maybe don't say 3 moons. That's not really a thing people say." I nodded vigorously, making a mental note while trying to process the sensory overload in my mouth. Our scientists had clearly underestimated the psychological impact of Earth cuisine. No wonder humans seemed so erratic. They lived in a constant state of flavor-induced madness. "So, Liam," Sophie continued, sitting down at her kitchen counter, tell me about yourself. What made you choose Minnesota for your exchange program? I launched into my carefully prepared backstory, but quickly discovered that human conversation rarely followed predictable patterns. Sophie asked questions I hadn't anticipated, like why I was wearing my watch upside down, and why I kept referring to my phone as a primitive communication device. Oh, that's just because I am very quirky. Humans love quirky people. Yes, sure. But maybe dial it back a notch. You are coming across a bit like an alien trying to pass as human. I froze, cookie halfway to my mouth. Ha, ha, ha. What an absurd suggestion. Everyone knows aliens don't exist, and if they did, they certainly wouldn't send a spy to gather intelligence on human weaknesses. Sophie stared at me for a long moment before bursting into laughter. You are hilarious. You should join the theater club at school. You'd fit right in with that sense of humor. As she turned to check on another batch of cookies, I quickly sent a message to command using my subdermal communicator. Day 1 report. Humans appear to have highly sophisticated detection capabilities, but disguise failures as humor. Request immediate review of cover story. Also, send reinforcements. These cookies are a weapon we had not anticipated. Their chemical composition must be studied. And please, for the love of all that's sacred, send me something called a winter coat. Mission log, Earth date September 15th. Command. I regret to inform you that my previous assessments of human predictability were premature. I transmitted while hiding in what humans call a bathroom, apparently the only acceptable location for talking to yourself. These beings are far more complex than our initial studies suggested. I pulled out my observation tablet, disguised as something called an iPad, and began reviewing my notes from the past week. First, concerning observation. Humans gather in large numbers to watch other humans throw various shaped balls. Today, Sophie took me to something called a football game. Thousands of humans painted in purple and gold, screaming at the top of their lungs about someone named Vikings. I naturally assumed this was a military recruitment ceremony. The memory of my cultural faux pas still made me cringe. I had stood up and shouted, "I pledge my allegiance to these mighty Vikings and will join them in glorious battle." The surrounding humans had cheered and high-fived me, completely misunderstanding my serious military commitment. Sophie had nearly fallen over laughing. Second observation. Their consumption rituals are baffling. This morning I witnessed my host father, Gregory Wells, drink something called coffee. The beverage clearly causes extreme cognitive enhancement, yet they treat it as casually as water. When I attempted to report this super soldier serum to command, I accidentally consumed what humans call an energy drink. I shuddered, remembering the incident. Note to Xenobiology Department. Human stimulants are not to be underestimated. I spent 3 hours reorganizing my host family's garage by color and invented a new form of interpretive dance. Sophie recorded the entire episode on her phone in something called TikTok. My cover story now includes being a performance artist. The bathroom door rattled. "Liam, you okay in there? You've been talking to yourself for 20 minutes, Sophie called out. "Perfectly fine. Just practicing my viral dance moves." "Whatever you say, weirdo." "Hey, want to grab some pizza? My treat." I quickly wrapped up my report. "Command, I must investigate this pizza substance. Early intelligence suggests it may be the source of human resilience. Agent Nexo, out." At the pizza parlor, I learned several vital pieces of intelligence about human society. First, the combination of melted cheese and tomato sauce creates a pleasure response so intense it should be classified as a controlled substance. Second, humans will debate endlessly about whether this food item should include something called pineapple. It's an abomination, Sophie declared, watching me cautiously pick at a slice topped with the controversial fruit. But it's still food? Not a weapon or a religious symbol. She snorted. Sometimes I can't tell if you are joking or if you really are from another planet. I laughed nervously, making a mental note to reduce the number of questions about common Earth foods. Next, you will tell me that humans willingly consume spicy substances that cause them pain. Sophie's evil grin told me I had just made a terrible mistake. Later that evening, after recovering from something called ghost pepper sauce, filed under potential chemical warfare agents in my report, I observed another peculiar human behavior: recreational screaming at electronic entertainment devices. No, why are you running toward the zombie? Gregory yelled at the television, aggressively manipulating a small control device. Because zombies are slow and easily avoidable, I suggested, attempting to be helpful. Both Gregory and Sophie turned to stare at me. It's a horror movie, Liam. The characters are supposed to make bad decisions. You intentionally watch scenarios where humans behave illogically for entertainment. Well, yeah. Haven't you ever watched a horror movie before? I quickly consulted my cultural database. Yes, many horror movies. I especially enjoy when the humans do the screaming, and the running, and the not checking if the monster is really dead. See? You get it, Gregory exclaimed, returning to his game. Now watch this part. It's where the main character goes into the dark basement alone. But why would anyone? I began, before catching Sophie's warning look. Yes, excellent strategy. Entering dark, confined space alone is a perfectly reasonable human response to danger. Later that night, I sent my final report of the day. Command, urgent update. Humans intentionally seek out recreational fear. They consume painful substances for pleasure. They voluntarily raise their heart rates through exposure to athletic competition. Most worryingly, they appear to be training themselves to survive apocalyptic scenarios through simulation devices called video games. Previous assessment of humans as primitive beings must be revised. Recommend immediate reevaluation of invasion plans. These people eat ghost peppers for fun. I repeat, they actively seek out substances that cause them pain, then dare their friends to try them. We are not dealing with a rational species. Also requesting permission to try something called a Taco Bell fourth meal, for research purposes only, of course. Agent Nexo, signing off to experience what Sophie calls a food coma. Mission log supplemental. I may have made a tactical error. When Sophie invited me to her niece's birthday celebration, I assumed it would be a simple human aging acknowledgement ceremony. My research indicated these events involved the consumption of baked goods and the exchange of wrapped offerings. Manageable, predictable, safe. I was not prepared for the reality of a sugar-fueled gathering of 15 small humans. Come on, Liam. Help me wrangle these kids for the pinata, Sophie called out, trying to organize a line of jumping, screaming children. Explain again the purpose of beating an artificial animal until candy explodes from its wounds, I asked, watching in horror as a blindfolded child spun in circles with a wooden stick. It's fun. Just make sure nobody gets too close when they are swinging. These humans were teaching their young to hunt candy-filled prey while blindfolded. Every new discovery about this species became more terrifying than the last. Then came the cake. Oh, the cake. My previous encounters with sugar had not prepared me for the concentrated power of what humans call triple chocolate fudge with buttercream frosting. The small humans consumed their portions and transformed into hyperactive chaos generators. Tag. You are it. A tiny human slapped my leg and ran away, giggling. I stood frozen, uncertain how to respond to this apparent attack. Sophie, I have been marked for death by one of your younglings. What? No, you are supposed to chase them and tag someone else. It's a game. Ah, yes, a training exercise for pursuit and evasion tactics. Clever. Before Sophie could respond, I found myself caught up in the chase. My superior alien reflexes should have given me an advantage, but these sugar-enhanced children moved with impossible speed and agility. They ducked under tables, rolled through legs, and used their small size to access escape routes I couldn't follow. Then came my near-fatal error. In my enthusiasm to capture one particularly quick target, I temporarily forgot about maintaining my human limitations. I jumped clean over a table. "Whoa, Liam, I didn't know you could do parkour," Sophie exclaimed. Yes, parkour, that normal human activity I learned in Florida. Wait, didn't you say you were from Minnesota earlier? Time for emergency tactical diversion. I spotted the remaining cake and made a swift decision. Who wants to see me eat 3 pieces of cake at once? The children cheered. Sophie's suspicion was forgotten, and I discovered why humans have strict guidelines about sugar consumption. The next 20 minutes were a blur of unprecedented neural stimulation. I have vague memories of leading a conga line, teaching the children my viral dance moves, and trying to explain to Sophie why I kept calling the family dog Earth Wolf. In command. I transmitted later from my usual bathroom hiding spot. I have infiltrated a human training camp disguised as a birthday party. Their young are being conditioned to handle extreme sugar enhancement and taught pursuit tactics through ritual games. Most concerning, they appear to be training in asymmetrical warfare through something called musical chairs, where they practice fighting over scarce resources while marching to rhythmic sound patterns. Additionally, I may have accidentally revealed superhuman agility, but covered it by inducing a sugar frenzy. Request immediate medical consultation about the effects of Earth cake on our biology. The humans simply call it a sugar crash, but I believe I'm experiencing temporary molecular breakdown. Also, I require new pants. One of the small humans apparently thought it would be hilarious to spill something called fruit punch on me. This red stain will not conform to standard matter manipulation protocols. Most urgent warning: under no circumstances should our invasion forces engage with human children hopped up on cake and candy. They are unstoppable. Agent Crix, signing off to lie very still until the room stops spinning. Command, I am becoming increasingly concerned about our assessment of human capabilities. Today, I witnessed a series of events that has forced me to radically reconsider our invasion strategy. I paused my recording, remembering the day's events with a shudder. It had started normally enough, with Sophie offering to drive me to the local shopping center, or mall, as humans call it. "Just need to grab a few things," she said, pulling her vehicle into the crowded parking lot. "Should take about an hour." That's when I witnessed my first case of what humans call road rage. Another vehicle attempted to claim the same parking space Sophie was approaching. "Oh, no you don't, buddy," for Sophie's entire demeanor transformed. Gone was the friendly, patient human I had come to know. In her place sat a warrior queen, honking her horn with righteous fury. The other driver emerged from his vehicle, face reddened with anger. "I was waiting for that spot." "Really? Because your turn signal must be broken, along with your common courtesy." I watched in fascination as both humans engaged in a ritual exchange of hand gestures and loud suggestions about each other's driving capabilities. According to my cultural database, this behavior should have escalated into physical confrontation. Instead, a third human emerged from the grocery store. "Hey folks, I'm actually leaving right now. There's another spot opening up." Like a switch had been flipped, both Sophie and the angry man suddenly smiled. "Oh gosh, thanks so much." Sophie beamed. "Yeah, really appreciate it." The man agreed, all rage vanishing instantly. "Sorry about that little disagreement there," Sophie called out to him. "No worries. Having a rough day. You know how it is." They both laughed and waved as if they hadn't just been questioning each other's ancestry and driving skills. "Command," I transmitted later. "Humans appear to have the ability to instantly switch between aggressive confrontation and peaceful cooperation. This behavioral plasticity makes them incredibly unpredictable." But the day's lessons weren't over. Inside the mall, I observed more baffling contradictions. A human child fell near our location, immediately engaging their species' warning siren. Before I could respond, 5 different humans rushed to help, none of them apparently related to the child. Command: humans show unprecedented levels of pack bonding, even with unrelated young. Yet minutes later, I observed 2 humans nearly come to blows over the last discounted portable entertainment unit, something called a PlayStation 5. The most concerning incident occurred at the food court. Sophie insisted I try something called a soft pretzel with cheese sauce. As I contemplated this strange combination of carbohydrates and liquid dairy, a news alert appeared on the overhead screens. Some natural disaster had struck a distant part of their world. "That's terrible," Sophie said, watching the footage. "Here, let me just..." She pulled out her phone and made an immediate donation to the relief effort. Around us, other humans were doing the same. "But you don't know these humans," I said, confused. "They are thousands of miles away." Sophie looked at me strangely. "They are still people, Liam. They need help." "Command," I transmitted that evening, pacing in my room. "Humans possess an alarming capacity for rapid resource mobilization and long-distance cooperation within hours of a crisis. They can channel massive aid efforts across their entire planet. Yet these same humans will engage in heated conflict over parking spaces. Furthermore, their adaptability extends beyond mere physical resilience. Today, I witnessed a human receive news of their workplace termination. Instead of accepting defeat, they immediately began planning something called a food truck business, declaring this setback a sign to follow their dreams. Most worrying of all, humans appear to thrive on adversity. When faced with challenges, they don't merely survive, they become stronger. They have sayings like, "Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger," which they repeat like some sort of survival mantra. Additional observation: humans can form deep emotional bonds with virtually anything. Today I saw a human apologize to a table after walking into it. Sophie names her plants and talks to them. My host father cried real tears when something called a Roomba got stuck under the couch. He called it a brave little soldier. Final analysis: any attempt to predict human behavior based on previous encounters will likely fail. They can be incredibly kind or terrifyingly aggressive, often within the same minute. They cooperate and compete with equal passion. They can love or hate the same thing, depending on context. I still cannot fully grasp. Personal addendum: I am beginning to understand why our previous reconnaissance missions have all requested extended observation periods. These humans are fascinating, Terrifying, but fascinating. Also, I require more soft pretzels for continued research. These cheese-covered bread knots have no right to taste this good. Agent Creaks, signing off to contemplate how a species can simultaneously be so chaotic, yet so captivating. Steamed Supreme Overseer Tharn. I regret to inform you that I cannot, in good conscience, recommend proceeding with our invasion plans of Earth. My extensive observations have led me to conclude that humans are simultaneously the most vulnerable and most dangerous species we have ever encountered. Let me explain through a recent incident. Yesterday I witnessed Sophie attempt something called parallel parking. For 20 minutes she tried to maneuver her vehicle into a space clearly large enough to accommodate it. When she finally succeeded, she celebrated as if she had conquered a small planet. Humans will turn the smallest victory into a moment of triumph. See that she exclaimed, "Nailed it." I started to point out that success after 20 attempts hardly qualified as nailing it. But then I remembered watching her spend 3 hours the previous day perfecting something called a soufflé, simply because her first attempt had failed. Command. This is what makes humans dangerous. They do not accept failure as a final outcome. They simply categorize it as practice. More concerning evidence last week, the heating unit in Sophie's house malfunctioned. Instead of waiting for professional repairs, she watched something called YouTube tutorials and fixed it herself, despite having no prior experience with temperature regulation systems. "You really should have called an expert," I told her. "Why? Now I know how to fix it myself. Plus I saved like $300. Command. Humans actively seek out new skills simply because they might be useful someday. Their pursuit of knowledge isn't driven by immediate need, but by endless curiosity. They have this phrase, going down a rabbit hole, which means losing hours or even days learning about something completely irrelevant to their survival just because they find it interesting. But perhaps most alarming is their ability to form instant alliances. 2 days ago, Sophie's vehicle stopped functioning in a location humans call the middle of nowhere. Within minutes, 3 separate vehicles had stopped to help. Complete strangers worked together to restart her transport, refusing any offer of compensation. "That's just Minnesota, nice," Sophie explained. Command. Humans have weaponized kindness. They assist others without expecting immediate benefits, creating complex webs of social debt and gratitude that can be activated in times of crisis. My final analysis: 1. Humans are simultaneously the most cooperative and competitive beings in the galaxy. They will fight each other over parking spaces, then unite instantly against any external threat. 2. Their adaptability is unprecedented. They live in environments ranging from frozen wastelands to scorching deserts, often by choice. They call these places vacation destinations. 3. Their technology is primitive but advancing at an alarming rate. They went from first flight to landing on their moon in just 66 years. They invented something called TikTok and turned it into a global communications network in months. 4. Most concerning of all, they appear to be entirely aware of their own contradictions and embrace them. They have saying like, "It is what it is," which they use to acknowledge and dismiss logical paradoxes that would drive our scientists mad. Personal recommendation: abort invasion plans immediately. Instead, I suggest establishing diplomatic relations, preferably through their entertainment industry. They are surprisingly willing to accept alien life forms if we first appear in something called a Netflix series. Final personal note: I find myself experiencing concerning levels of attachment to these humans, particularly Sophie. Their chaotic nature is somehow endearing rather than repulsive. I fear I may have been compromised by prolonged exposure to their peculiar charm. Also, I may have agreed to attend something called a Renaissance Fair next weekend. Send immediate extraction team or period-appropriate costume. Dear Supreme Overseer Tharn, by the time you receive this message, my transformation into human form will have become permanent. I want you to understand why I'm making this choice. Yesterday, Sophie asked me a simple question that changed everything. We were sitting on her roof, watching something humans call a sunset, eating these frozen treats called popsicles. Liam, are you happy here? The question struck me like a quantum blast. In all our advanced civilization's history of monitoring other species, we had never considered measuring happiness. We tracked technological progress, military capability, resource consumption, but never just joy. Because you seem different lately, she continued, unaware of my existential crisis. When you first got here, you were so stiff and formal. Now you are teaching the neighborhood kids your weird dances and joining my dad's weekly game nights. She was right. Somewhere between the birthday party chaos and the parking lot warfare, between learning to make snow angels and discovering the wonder of grilled cheese sandwiches, I had changed. The very unpredictability that I was sent to study had begun to feel like freedom. Commander, our society achieved perfect order centuries ago. We eliminated uncertainty. Standardized behavior optimized everything. But sitting there, watching Earth's star paint impossible colors across the sky, while sticky popsicle juice dripped down my hands, I realized what we had lost in the process. Humans embrace chaos. They create art that serves no purpose except to make others feel emotions. They adopt animals knowing they will experience loss. They fall in love, despite the statistical inevitability of getting hurt. You know what I told Sophie? I really am happy here. Then she said something that would be considered treasonous on Nexara. Sometimes the best things in life make absolutely no sense. So, Commander, I am officially resigning from the Nexaran Intelligence Service. I have already deleted my quantum return protocols. My decision may seem illogical, emotional, even primitive. In other words, perfectly human. I plan to enroll in something called community college, maybe study marine biology. Humans have only explored 5% of their oceans. Can you imagine? They have an entire world of mysteries waiting right here, and they are excited about it, rather than terrified. To address your inevitable security concerns, no, I haven't revealed our existence to the humans, although Sophie has her suspicions. Yesterday she caught me talking to her houseplant, explaining how inferior it was to Nexaran vegetation. Instead of reporting me to their authorities, she just laughed and said, "You are such a weirdo." And that, Commander, is why humans will never be conquered. They don't just tolerate weirdness, they celebrate it. P.S. I almost forgot. The Renaissance Fair was amazing. Humans spend entire weekends pretending to live in their own past, eating giant turkey legs and speaking in terrible accents. Sophie got me a court jester costume. It has bells, Commander. Bells. Epilogue. 6 months later, the Nexaran High Council received an unprecedented number of resignation requests from their observation agents across Earth. Reports showed agents becoming waiters in Paris, surf instructors in Hawaii, and in one notable case, a professional dog walker in New York City. The council eventually voted to classify Earth as a protected cultural treasure, reasoning that any species capable of turning hardened Nexaran spies into poetry-writing baristas was too valuable to risk destroying. As for me, I'm still in Minnesota. Sophie and I are dating now, a human courtship ritual that makes absolutely no logical sense and brings me more joy than all my centuries of perfectly ordered existence. Gregorioro, We are going skydiving. Humans invented a sport where they fall from perfectly good aircraft for fun. Isn't that wonderful? With fond regards and no regrets, Liam Sanderson, former Agent Crix, current human in training. P.S. Send more popsicles.